I have a lot of men, and I'm sure you get a chuckle out of this, that say, oh, hormone health, I don't need that. Well, hormones, as you know, affect everything in the body, from your brain, your nervous system, your adrenals, your reproductive system. It's not just for women, and it's not just about reproductive system. There are many hormones outside of your sex hormones, cortisol being one of them, and I'm sure we'll get into this when we talk about insulin resistance. And hormones are never the problem. They are signals for us to look under the hood, if you will.
Welcome to Thriving with Diabetes, the podcast where we empower people with type 2 diabetes to live their best lives. I am your host, Gamden, a holistic wellness coach, helping people overcome the struggles they face with type 2 diabetes. I believe that with the correct knowledge, mindset, and support, you can manage your health condition effectively and live a fulfilling life. I am delighted to have an expert in holistic health with us today. Our guest, Dee Davidson, is a board-certified functional health practitioner with over 20 years of experience in functional health. Dee is dedicated to empowering women to thrive through holistic approach to health and wellness. Her passion lies in guiding people on their wellness journey through personalized protocols. Today, we will take a look into the connection between diabetes and hormones. You will gain valuable insights into managing type 2 diabetes with confidence. It is always inspiring to learn about our guests' perspectives and experiences. Before we dive into our discussion, I would love for Dee to introduce herself, share some background about her and what she does. So without further ado, I will hand it over to Dee to introduce herself and share something about her background. Dee, welcome to the Thriving with Diabetes podcast.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be on here. As you said, my name is Dee Davidson. My love and passion is functional health for so many reasons, but really, I have been studying functional health with my own family for these 2 decades because my own health struggles. I had, hormone imbalances. I was almost 50 pounds heavier. Type 2 diabetes does run in my family. And what I've come to realize over the last 2 decades is that we have to address the body as a whole. All of the systems are connected, whether it be our hormones, our immune system, digestion, detoxification, energy production, our nervous system. It's all interconnected inside as a constellation as well as outside. We have to stay connected, mind, body, and soul. And for many years, I was practicing without looking at whole health. I was more so looking at different specific facets of health and chasing symptoms. And what I realized is people would end up in that cycle of trial and error. So it is such a passion of mine to help people get out of the cycle of trial and error and understand how foundational things in our lifestyle need to ultimately change, and we have to address the body as a whole to find true healing.
Brilliant. Thank you for sharing some background about you and what you do. It's very important that you mentioned health is not like one aspect or there are different aspects when it comes to health. I was looking at your website and found that you have got abbreviation CLY. Then I found it to be confidently love yourself principles. which sounds very interesting approach. Can you explain these principles and how the confident or confidently love yourself affirmation contribute to holistic health?
Yes. So interestingly enough, this brand came to light about 4 years ago before my brand was Dee Davidson. And I wanted to have an umbrella of different things under Dee Davidson. So I stepped back from that and I thought about, well, I actually surveyed a lot of people in regard to this and asked them, what does it take to find true health, true vitality, and happiness? And a lot of people, they came back to, you have to really love yourself. And I can't agree more with that. In order to show up for yourself every day, whether it be go to the gym, drink enough water, get some sunlight, set those boundaries, if you're lacking in self-love and you don't feel that self-worth, it's going to be so much more difficult to do those things. So I feel that the way to true health and whole health is to, first of all, love yourself enough to show up for yourself and do the things. And when you do those things, guess what happens? You have confidence in yourself because you just did it. You went to the gym 3 times this week. You ate a healthy meal. You stayed away from the drive-through. So your confidence organically, it just rises with the choices that you make around your health and showing up for yourself.
Brilliant. Very interesting. So the key point is love yourself to build confidence and commit to the task or the action which is related to health. Is that correct?
That is correct. I actually came up with, I have some affirmation cards that I put together that are available on Etsy around those principles. Each day there's a different affirmation, but you're not just left with an affirmation. You're left with what I call loving actions. Those loving actions reflect that you woke up today and you love yourself enough to do whatever the thing is. Again, drink enough water, go for a walk, say no to someone. I love the saying, when you say no to someone else, you're saying yes to yourself. You have to show up for yourself and love yourself enough to do those things.
Brilliant. Thank you for sharing that. You focus on hormone balance, which is crucial, specifically for women. Can you talk about the importance of balanced hormones for overall health and vitality?
Yes, I would love to talk about that. I geek out on hormone health, and that's because of my own experiences. But hormone health, and the reason that I chose to specifically, hone in on this is so important. I have a lot of men, and I'm sure you get a chuckle out of this, that say, oh, hormone health, I don't need that. Well, hormones, as you know, affect everything in the body, from your brain, your nervous system, your adrenals, your reproductive system. It's not just for women, and it's not just about reproductive system. There are many hormones outside of your sex hormones, cortisol being one of them, and I'm sure we'll get into this when we talk about insulin resistance. And hormones are never the problem. They are signals for us to look under the hood, if you will. So it's a great marketing tool for me, hormone health in women, because when women start to gain weight, or they can't sleep, or they have acne, or all of these things, they automatically think it's their hormones, which likely it is, but the hormones are just a signal or a flag to say, hey, come over here and look a little closer. And when hormones are out of balance, we have to look at what other things might be lurking as healing opportunities, whether it be gut health, or it could be, high histamine. It could be your brain and nervous system, is agitated by something. But hormones are everything. I call it the control panel. I tell people, hey, you have a panel at home, electrical panel, and what happens if you flip one of those switches off, right? Everything kind of just powers down. Well, your hormones are your electrical panel.
Brilliant. Very interesting information about hormones, specifically for those who just thinks hormones is just for women or about fertility, but there are many things when it comes to hormones. Let's move a little bit to talk about holistic approach to balance hormones. And your approach is holistic, considering lifestyle, nutrition, and mindset. How does these elements interplay in your strategy for balancing hormones?
Sure. I love when we chatted before this podcast and we were on the same page when we talked about the foundational things. I use an acronym that I'm not going to claim it's an FDN acronym, the school that I went to, but it's dress, like a dress you put on. And I tell people that no matter what labs say, I have the ability to run 4,000 functional labs, and data and science is great. But no matter what your diagnosis is, I see a lot of people just saying, well, I have type 2 diabetes, or I have PCOS, or whatever the thing is, or whatever your labs say. We have to come back to foundationals. And I talk about this acronym DRESS in terms of always getting the body back to a state of ease and balance. And the acronym, the D is diet, but not going on a diet. I don't believe in restrictions or, feeling like you're missing out on things. That never lasts. So we have to look at, are you eating the right foods? Are you eating foods that balance your blood sugar? Are you eating enough food? So many women are not eating enough food. Are you eating every few hours? Are you skipping breakfast? There's this new intermittent fasting craze, but everybody is a unique individual. So we have to look at each person that way when it comes to all of these different foundational things. So we look at diet as nourishing the body, stabilizing blood sugar, and food, I believe, can be very healing. And we have to remember that just because a food might be good for me doesn't mean it's good for you, right? So we have to look at that personalized uniqueness. Then we look at the R of dress, which is rest. So we look at, people say, well, I sleep fine. But it's not just, are you sleeping fine? Are you getting that deep sleep? Are you setting yourself up, leading up that last hour, to really have the best sleep possible? Do you have EMF in your room when you're sleeping that could be causing neurological things to be going on, or oxidative stress? And rest is not just sleep. Let's face it. A lot of us, I'm over in the US of A, best country, right? But what do? We have this go, go, go mentality, which I think has really tanked a lot of men and women. It has put us in a deficit with our health because we don't always allow ourselves rest. We're so disconnected from the body. So rest is not just sleep. Rest is, I know that I'm supposed to go to the CrossFit gym today, but I feel tired. I'm going to listen to my body, and I'm not going to be so rigid. I'm going to be more flexible and just take some rest. Same for the nervous system. When 9 out of 10 of my clients, they never talk to anyone about how to make your nervous system feel safe, or somatic practices, or breathing exercises and things like that. So rest is a lot more than just, I sleep fine. Exercise, again, we talk about joyful exercise. I see a lot of times women doing these crazy workouts. They're doing the wrong type of exercise. When we talk about insulin resistance, we want to talk about building muscle, and women have this perception that, if I do this weightlifting, I'm going to look like a man, or I'm going to get bulky, which just makes me laugh because you and I know that's really difficult for a woman to do. But we look at exercise. Are you joyfully exercising? Are you doing the right types of exercise? We look at stress. So again, cortisol is a hormone, and cortisol is necessary to help us stay protected. But at the same time, if you're always running on that sympathetic nervous system and fight or flight, you're going to cause a lot of issues because your body, it doesn't have emotional intelligence. It just looks at where things are piling up, and it starts to spike that cortisol and cause inflammation and causes your systems to break down. So we have to look at stress on the outside. Are you having boundaries? Are you overworking? Are you skipping sleep to go to the gym at 4 in the morning. That's not a positive. And then on the stress side too, I look at hidden stressors. So hidden stressors are where my functional labs come in. I typically don't start with functional labs if someone hasn't addressed these foundational things, because I've moved the needle over the years many, many times without even doing a single lab. And sometimes I feel like labs deflate people because they see science and they go, oh my gosh, look at this list of problems that I have. But if they never saw the list of problems, then they focused on whole health healing with the things we just talked about, they'd feel so much better. And those things would organically and innately heal. So we look at hidden stressors, but only after we've tried and been honest with ourselves, taken responsibility for the foundational things, and said, okay, well, I've tried this for at least 3 to 6 months. This is the other thing with our culture, is that if something doesn't work in 30 days because we see these 21-day challenge, 30-day fix, then they move on to the next thing, which is so sad. Healing is a process, and we have to give the body time to rebalance. And you can't pick and choose. The body can't be fooled. So you have to let the body do what it needs to do. So if we've done that for 3 or 6 months and you're still not seeing things clear up, which for many, many of my clients, we do see them clear up, then we can talk about which functional labs might benefit you. And those are the hidden stressors that, yes, sometimes they need to be addressed and needs a little bit more love there. And then the last S of dress is supplements. I'm not a big believer in taking hundreds or thousands of dollars of supplements a month, because it's not any different than prescriptions. You're putting a Band-Aid rather than taking accountability, responsibility, and addressing the root issues there. But supplements can be good if we find out you have H. pylori. That could be a stressor on your blood sugar and things, or you're missing a certain strain of bacteria that needs to be in your gut. Sure, it can be okay for short term, some things long term, depending what your situation is and your uniqueness. But just remember that, again, supplements are not, you have to address the other things. So that's kind of the approach that I take when it comes to holistic health.
Brilliant. Very interesting information, and there are a lot to digest. You mentioned nutrition and how is it important to have a personalized approach when it comes to nutrition. You mentioned physical activity or exercise, sleep, which sometimes is overlooked, stress management, which is very important, and this will take us to the next point, which is about insulin. And you know, insulin is a hormone. When we talk about type 2 diabetes, we are also talking about insulin resistance. Can you provide some tips for our viewers and listeners to confidently reduce the impact of insulin resistance and improve insulin sensitivity?
Yes, one of my favorite topics. When women come to me, especially if they have, it's a financial investment to do labs and all of these things. And, if they have a limited budget, the number one thing I tell them is to understand insulin resistance and how that goes hand in hand with your hormone balance. If your insulin is out of whack, not just for insulin resistance and type 2 diabetes, your hormones, they kind of travel together overall. So as far as tips, the number one thing I can tell you is to make sure you start making a magic plate. I've come up with this, my term is a magic plate when it comes to blood sugar regulation. And the things that should be on your plate, before I tell you the things that should be on your plate, I want you to just remember that every body is different. This is something I had to really embrace, especially being a woman 50 years old, because a lot of, influencers and things will say, you're this age, or you want to lose weight, do the keto, do the paleo, eat more protein. But really, if you listen closely and you use your intuition over and over again, my clients will say, wow, that makes a lot of sense to me, as far as I needed more protein to sustain energy, or I needed more carbs to sustain energy. It's not cookie cutter. But the magic plate that I give everyone has leafy greens on it. That is something that so many people are not eating. So leafy greens on your plate should also be eaten first off your plate. And the reason being that if you eat that first, it's going to coat the upper intestine. So when you start to eat the other food, it breaks down the sugars from the carbs, because carbs aren't bad. The carbs have been made out to be the devil or the bad thing. If you're eating whole food carbs, we need them to sustain energy. People say, "Oh, I'm so lethargic," but they've cut out carbs. So there is a way to eat things off of your plate to help with insulin resistance. Eat those greens first and make sure that you're eating them. Then eat your protein next. And a good rule of thumb, if someone doesn't want to measure macros, I don't believe in any of that, because who wants to be on an app all day long doing that? I know there's a time and a place. Some people like that. But good rule of thumb is a palm size of protein, lean protein, whether it be chicken, fish, beef, whatever the source of protein is. Eat that next, because what's going to happen is if you're filled up on the nice greens and the protein and you feel full, it's better to leave some of the extra carbs that may cause your sugar to spike than it is to not eat the protein or the greens. So eat your carbs last, and typically a fist lump full of good carb, whole foods, single ingredient is best. Stay away from those processed foods, even if the processed food has real names on it. Say it's sweet potato and chickpea. It had to go through a process to get into that bag or box. And in that process, I'm a believer that some of the nutrition is lost. So the more single ingredient foods that you can cook up, the better off. And then make your magic plate and eat the greens first. And I guarantee that if you were to use a CGM, a glucose monitor, or even did the glucometer, you would see a difference in how long your blood sugar spikes for, what that spike is. And that is a good point too, is that if you're really curious how it's affecting your blood sugar, use, some kind of tool to check it out. Because again, I've had clients where a sweet potato maybe only elevated their sugar for a short period, and other people, it was through the roof. So just because it's a whole food doesn't mean that it affects everyone the same. So that's one of the biggest things. The next thing I would say is make sure you're eating every 3 to 4 hours. So a lot of women, they skip breakfast, they have black coffee. Black coffee is going to spike your cortisol and again, your blood sugar. So making sure you're eating with your coffee or right before your coffee, eating, about 90 minutes, an hour to 90 minutes after waking up, and then every 3 or 4 hours. That's nutrition is a key thing outside of the stress and the sleep and all of that.
Brilliant. Very interesting information and a lot of tips here. So you are recommending that people should focus on leafy greens, whole foods, lean proteins, and avoid processed foods. Try home cooking as well. And last thing you mentioned is to, as a tool, to try the CGM to help them monitor and control blood sugar levels. I want to touch a little bit about mindset. Could you talk about having a positive mindset which may contribute to achieving and maintaining optimal health?
Yes, mindset is everything. So when I have a discovery session with someone, I really ask them where their mindset is at. Because if you are not open to these lifestyle changes, again, you can continuously chase a diagnosis or a prescription or a supplement, and at the end of the day, you're still in that cycle of trial and error. So one of the first activities I have all my clients do, and they look at me like I have 3 heads, because I have them write down what their why is for doing this. It has to be more than, it's a lot of the ladies that come to me, why are they coming to me? Because of the scale. And I will not even work with those people. If they are just looking at the scale, the scale is the last thing to usually move. The thing we focus on the most is the thing that's not going to move. So someone has to be open-minded and tell me what their why is. And you have to really look at longevity and believe that your health can change, because a lot of people take on the identity of their diagnosis, and that's not helpful. We have to be able to envision ourselves as a picture of health and longevity and really believe that it can happen. And so I have them write up their why, and then we get into the deeper why of, it can't just be I want to lose weight, or, I want to get off this medication. It has to really be a deep why, and we really have to unfold a lifetime of things. And then from there, we have to work on affirming it daily. Really, we work on word choices, limiting beliefs. It's not easy. You and I know that. It's not easy, right? It's a whole rewiring. I love Dr. Joe Dispenza's breaking the habit of being you, because that's really what you're doing. But you have to be willing to do that. It is a work in progress. It is not something that you can come in and you're like, oh, I don't want to give that up. I don't want to do that. Then your mindset has to be involved in creating a new identity, because for many of us, that's what we've had to do, is create a new identity, a new picture of health.
Brilliant. Thank you for sharing this information about mindset, as it is the first thing that you can start with a client, and which shows or can indicate a sort of a success. Because if I'm saying I cannot do this, I will not be able to do that, and I keep saying that, so there is less chance to succeed or overcome health challenges. I have got another question before we finish this episode. What inspiring message or advice would you like to leave with our viewers and listeners, specifically for those struggling with type 2 diabetes?
Sure. Well, I just want to piggyback off what we were just talking about with mindset. And first of all, taking inventory of the people around you and the people that you surround yourself with. I think it's important that if you want to overcome or defeat type 2 diabetes or any other health situation, that you surround yourself with people who are already doing that. Again, in my CLY community, whether it be on Facebook or Instagram, there are people that are doing it. They're living proof that you can too. And one of my favorite sayings is, it's your birthright. Whatever you believe in, your higher God wants you to live your healthiest, happiest life. It's your birthright, and there's no reason that you too cannot be living that. So surround yourself with people who are already doing it. Surround yourself with people that support you. One of the things that I find is a lot of times, people will be surrounding themselves with the people that aren't doing it, and misery loves company. So do you think that your friend who is getting all the takeout and having all the alcoholic beverages every week is going to want to lose that connection with you? Probably not. So you have to really take inventory of, am I surrounding myself with the right people, looking for community, because there are so many communities that you and I can refer people to uplift you, give you hope, and support you through it, because it is possible for every single person out there.
Brilliant. Thank you for sharing your inspiring message. How can people find you if they want to get in touch with you or learn more about you and what you do?
Sure. My website is confidentlyloveyourself.com. I also post daily inspiration on Instagram at confidently_love_yourself. And I have a free community that everyone is welcome to join. And we share success stories, struggles. You can ask questions in there. I'm present in there. And that's called the Confidently Healthy Collective.
Brilliant. Thank you for sharing your contact information. Now we have come to the end of this episode, and I would like to express my sincere gratitude to our amazing guest, Dee Davidson, for generously sharing her expertise, insights, and time with us today. I want also to thank every one of you, our dedicated viewers and listeners, for being a part of this episode. If you need additional guidance and support, please visit wellnessimpact.org to book a call with me. If you found this episode insightful and valuable, I invite you to join our community of people committed to thriving with diabetes. To stay up to date for upcoming episodes, empowering discussions, and practical tips, make sure to subscribe and follow us. Once again, thank you, Dee, for being our guest today. Thank you, everyone, for joining us on this impactful journey. Until next time, take care of your health and keep thriving.
Thank you so much.